party.
That would also be too pink. So while I start writing Invincible Season 2, start talking about your drama shit.
My drama shit?
Yeah, you said you wanted to talk about some fucking drama
Oh,
shit.
yeah, we got 2 pink donuts. I thought it wouldn't happen. Thank you, Gaff. Thank you, Mazer. All right. Do you have clips from this? Take the fucking Dragon Ball thing down really quick.
Clips from what?
I guess we can just keep this open right here. That's perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
Do you have the whole? It should be on the docket.
What clips? You gotta tell me what you're looking for, but
For the whole you Sneeko thing and them talking on
there's
you
no
on top.
clips of that on the docket.
What? None. Hold on.
You gotta be telling
hold
people
the
what
fuck
clips
on.
you want. You can't
Hold
just
the fuck
fucking mind fucking blast and expect them to know.
Hold on. What the fuck? I thought it was on there. What the fuck?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
all
So
right,
number one, why are we gonna show clips of this boring? First off, let's start by saying why are we gonna show clips of this boring stream that Keem literally said is boring on our? Just talk about it. Just fucking say whatever. What do we need clips for? We are not Rewind.
What? Do you remember what you were talking about?
30 Flop super chatted $19.99. Also, aren't we getting lit?
We are. That's another rip. That's like 3 more because I got.
Mine's charging right now.
Continue your story and then you'll take yours when you can.
Everybody wants to cancel you for being a part of Sneeko, being close to him. You talking about, I guess, the difference of being like raped once and multiple rapings. They felt like you were on there standing all these misogynistic ideas, and as a woman, you should feel ashamed for even being there in the first place, which I agree with. But at the same time, I feel like as a person, I should let you explain yourself and how you feel about you being on there and what they feel like they're labeling you is correct or not.
Well, let's start by saying, first off, my opinions are my own. Second off, I went on a podcast 2 years ago. Am I exactly sure particularly what thing you're talking about? No, but I do know the situation which you're talking about. And we were referring to an older podcast that Sneeko was on. I watched him do a debate with Destiny. And do I remember exactly what happened in that debate? No. It was over 2 years ago. So whatever I was talking about had something to do with that debate. I don't fucking remember. Do I really care that I was on Fresh and Fit 2 years ago? Not particularly. I didn't even know Sneeko was going to be there. That is something I've said multiple times. The reason I took a picture with Sneeko was because it was really funny. Because he got canceled and I got canceled around the same time. So it was like really funny. I posted it on, I think, my Instagram story. And that was about it. I would go on Fresh and Fit again, but I don't know.
Why?
It's a podcast. It's promotion.
I know that you're a type of person, and any type of press sells, negative or positive. But do you know what it looks like for you to be going on one of those things and them just degrading people or just women in general like that, using them as punchlines, using them as props, as meat shields for their disgusting, incelic, fucking misogynistic ideologies?
I mean, teach their own. Like, it depends on what everybody considers misogynistic. Do I think that their takes 2 years ago are different than what their takes are now? Absolutely. Have they gone the more extremist route in the more recent years? Absolutely. But they didn't degrade me. They were extremely nice to me. They offered to pay for my valet. They actually offered for me and my boyfriend to come to the club with them after. Me and the girl sitting next to me, the one in the Reptar sweater, they offered for both of us to go to the club with them after because they enjoyed us being there. They were very pleasant to us. They might put on a character on screen, but off screen, that's the one thing I don't understand. People being in the Lolcow universe where everybody wants to call everything scripted here can't seem to realize that maybe these other people are playing somewhat of a character when they're on screen and maybe aren't that off screen. Look, I went to a podcast. I did an interview. So did everybody else there. I went back a second time after that. They were nice to me. I didn't have a bad time. Are they aggressive on camera? Absolutely. But that's the character they play.
Look, I got some really weird people. King TL, I don't know what the fuck you mean by she carries me. She definitely helps me. I'm a scatterbrained idiot. And I don't know what you mean buff being a huge virtue signal. If you have a woman in your life and you agree with certain people with these dumbass, horrible fucking ideologies, then that's some personal thing that you had because
Well, it
some
depends
girl
on what
was
you're agreeing
being...
with, though.
So, in the past, I made it very clear that I'm not the biggest Zay fan. Still not. But I've also made it very clear that you can still agree or disagree with somebody regardless of their position or their political stuff or their religious stuff or whatever, social, right? You can still agree with them or agree to disagree or, give some nuanced take about that particular opinion they have, right? I've always held that belief. Mostly because, before I really started making YouTube videos and really without getting into my own personal history on the internet, I jumped a lot around political circles, and I grew to kind of respect I wouldn't say respect their opinion in the sense of like, oh, your opinion is yours, but more or less because of political alignment or whatever reason, I've grown to sort of respect certain political positions, even if I think their approach to it is wrong or I think they don't go hard enough. And that's something I've learned to sort of accept. All right, and as I said, I learned to accept that you can still not like somebody, but still agree with them or agree with a take every so often, right? You can always use the, broken clock as a right twice a day, and that's sometimes a lot more truer than you think. And I think Zay made a good point that what you consider misogynist or whatever, it's always different to people from people. He's 100% correct, and I like the approach that Zay is doing. I think her time on the LCU really shapes the way she's talking. Now, again, whether I agree with it or not is a different thing, but I do agree that, I also don't really agree too much with what One Buckwheat. As somebody who can be called a sympathizer towards, let's say, a lot of the incel people or the MGTOW, I'm very sympathetic because I understand their plight and their problem. I don't agree with a lot of their methods or action, but nevertheless, I've grown. And I feel like One Buckwheat could have easily fallen down that pathway. I surely did, but I because I was exposed to it so early on, I was able to move, not really move away from it, but really give more nuanced take, right? I knew about the MGTOW stuff and like a lot of these other stuff, at least from the early 2010s. And again, as I said, I think one buff could have easily gone the same route of an incel or a MGTOW. And I feel like they're simply discarding them because of you don't like what they're saying. I think it's a little ridiculous. And then I think like on a show or a network like the LCU, you have to be willing to maybe this is how I am, maybe I'm coping, but you need to be willing to like openly talk about these stuff without going to ham or disagreeing right off the bat. And I think Zay is willing to do that more than with Bob, but it's very interesting. And it's all right, kind of, I wouldn't say rebuttal what Tess is doing, but more or less give her position. So he is right, people do change, people do go from different direction, right?
I'm not talking to you.
You're agreeing with. I just want to say that because not everything of what I think people look at what they say, right, and they look at their extremist values and they're like, these are inherently wrong. But I would totally disagree with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But they're less extreme values. Some of them aren't bad. Like some people just want to live a more traditional conservative lifestyle, and that's up to them. Like everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but this whole guilty by association and the LCU bullshit is a little bit crazy when we're literally sitting in a place where somebody faked having cancer. Like think of the lolcows that there are in all this shit. And we're honing in on me sitting on a podcast with Sneeko. Like,
no, I just want to tell you. No, I just want to tell you. Personally, I don't give a fuck whose podcast you're on. I'm just we are told to address this, and that's why we're addressing it. Because personally, I don't really give a fuck. I think Sneeko and all the people in his ilk are pieces of shit. But if you wanted to go on there just for your promotion, just to build your career, I can't blame you for that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was
like,
2 years before.
Just when people tell me like, oh, you need to address this, you need to like distance yourself from this, you need to talk about this. My whole thing is like that has nothing to do with the Zay that's here and the Zay that's on the show and me and the show. We are just two hosts on this show trying to do the best we can.
Oh, I know.
And
Buff, you're good. Like, you gotta remember, this is just testing another L, and they're forcing you to have to bring it up like it's something.
No, it's fucking boring.
Cancel culture is trash, dude. We know it's boring. Keem
Look,
said it's boring.
Fucking Gaff put something, his Keem's response into the docket, by the way. If you want to pull it up.
Oh, put Keem's response to this in the docket?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't, and first of all, me not agreeing with other people's ideologies have nothing to do. I'm wrong all the time, people are right all the time, and vice versa. Me trying to say that, oh, I think that women should have like, more of a, a set of holes type of title that some of these people look at is a bad opinion to have. I'd rather have that fucking bad opinion. And if you want to say, King TL, if you want to say Zay runs the show, okay, we'll see.
Look, I think,
hey, Zay,
this
show's nothing with this show. Apparently you are this show and nothing.
Hey, you can buff. I don't want you.
Nothing.
Listen to me right now, Buff. Listen to me right now, Buff. You're honing in on one person in the comments saying that. How many people have said that to me time and time again?
I know. I'm just fucking with you. I know.
Teamwork is what makes it work. You know we wouldn't be here without each other right now. We are what is making this show work. We are a team. Don't fucking try to separate us. Okay, but this is what you said. I'll read it for the people. I'm so bored. Can somebody please join Test Down Save Nightmare? He's drowning. Somebody please tell him it's not 4 in the morning. It's 7 p.m. You got to do something. And they're doing another exposed stream about me, by the way. I should mention that. I think.
King TL, we know you're here for Zay. The fuck? You simpy ass bitch.
Well, I was going to say though, that they're going to be reviewing my second Fresh and Fit appearance, which I will say does not have any crazy guests on it and was even more boring than my first one because I don't think I fucking talked at all during my second appearance.
You didn't. Your first appearance, you barely fucking said anything.
How are you going to talk at Pale full of 8 bitches? And bro, context that is missing, there was this one girl there, right? And she fucking reeked. So fucking bad. The whole fucking place smelled like this bitch's BO. And I'll say who it was. It was that one bitch who was yapping with the like, I can't remember. She had like a green bandana or something.
Also, I do like how she makes a point. I could be misremembering or misquoting. Obviously, if I do, the quote the clip is here. Before I move forward, I understood what she meant that they're not rewind, but having clips on hand is very important to illustrate points and positions. It is always good to have them when you're trying, especially that you kind of have to do it once in a while. But I think like you could still be friends or buddy with people regardless of the things they say. I do agree with that. I do also now one of the things we may disagree heavily is the idea of cancel culture. She quotes Keemstar by saying cancel culture is stupid, but the problem is that people who say that are the first to also use cancel culture. Something I've grown to really shift my position on. Or I wouldn't really shift, but really, how can I say this? I wouldn't say accept, but be willing to use it as a tool for whatever side or whatever group I'm in is cancel culture because everybody will try to cancel each other. Everybody has. It is cancel culture is very much within human nature, one reason or another. And to simply say that it's stupid is ridiculous because these are the same people given a chance for trying to cancel somebody, right? You can't simply say cancel culture is stupid if you're willing to do it down the line. I think it's willing to accept it. I know I have. It's one of the main reasons why I kind of moved away from these, like, how can I say, the NTSAW, NT-Woke, because I feel like they're not willing to, I wouldn't say embrace it, but they're not willing to go with any new one positions or whatever. And there's always the same thing. Cancel culture is bad. But then when they do it, they think it's good, and there's no sense of a new one, or at least no sense of, okay, maybe, or at least it's admitting that when our opposition uses it, it's wrong, but when we do it, it's right. Just admit that, and I'm willing to give you the respect because you're willing to say that. And I think that's why within the lefts, a lot of left wingers, and I'm not a left winger, I've made this very clear a number of times, that a lot of them are willing to admit that. And I give them props for that. And I think in a way, one buff needs to be willing to do that. And I give props to any political side, whatever. But I mean, like, what I'm trying is, like, give nuanced takes. Like, he had to be willing to confront these things, even if he's not comfortable. You have to. And you have to be willing to, especially with your host. If you don't like it, that's one thing. But as an entertainer or a content creator, there are things that you have to be willing to cover or talk about down the line, even if it makes you uncomfortable. I surely have. I would say, I would admit that I wasn't really comfortable covering the whole Link's Grace and all that stuff that happened, but I'm kind of glad I did. And that's something he has to be willing. Now, in the end, we are gonna see another round of war between Test and Nerd, and obviously, Zay is gonna go off of the, well, it's shit, so they're not gonna win. They're gonna take another L. I don't think they are. I think the only way that they're gonna have to win if they try to go on it with a nuanced approach. But I think Zay is gonna do that more than Nightmare, and I think that's something I'm willing to give her credit. And if she does succeed in going on with a nuanced approach, but then again, since Lolcow Live, or really the LCU, is kind of model off, not directly, but kind of weirdly off of like the Bait Bro stuff, I don't think that's gonna matter. With that being said, till next time, y'all, have a good one, be safe, and God bless.